time rated it the best session of the whole of hiring week, and this time I've made it better. So that is what's happening tomorrow morning, but please also be aware of the fact that we don't start at 10 tomorrow. We start at 20 to 10 tomorrow, when Tensaku will be giving you a short introduction to the things that you can be getting on with now that you are almost graduates of Makers Academy, which are various different projects of things that happen in the real world, and it will sort of follow on from the wrap-up session. It's just that he's not here today. So yeah, this morning is, where's my thing gone? Basically, what we've done up until this point is kind of making you look good to employers, whether that's an interview or your CV and all that sort of stuff, because those are the things that I use to help you get jobs. Today is a bit more focused on you doing it by yourself. So we'll start off with the finding of jobs, particularly the finding of jobs that you want. As far as I understand, most of you are here because you don't just want a job, you want a job that you love, that you enjoy, that you care about, all that sort of stuff. How do you find those jobs? But also particularly because while everyone needs more developers, you're much more likely to find jobs in kind of medium-sized businesses. And medium-sized businesses don't do a great job of advertising their jobs. So some techniques about how to find the hidden jobs, of which 85% of jobs are never advertised. You'll get a session in which you will apply some of the things that I talked about beforehand, because particularly I would like you to stick around and apply some of the more introspective things that I asked you to do, just because it's nice to do them immediately, that you think about them, because then it triggers your brain to keep thinking about them later on. And then after the break, two quite brief talks, basically. The first one is my of an ideal job application. It's just my model, but it's a nice one to use should you not have a model to use. And then a bit on how to work with me ongoing, including getting you all up to speed on, or getting you all in the Job Hunter Slack group if you're not already in it, reminding you that there will be weekly feedback forms on careers, well, me and all that sort of stuff. And then after the break, Spike will come and give a very, very highly rated talk from last time round, which is basically his advice as a junior developer on how to be good at being a junior developer. And then we'll do a wrap up, which will basically be more information and reminders around the I'm very sorry, dull admin of what it's actually like to the day-to-day of being a job hunter with Makers Academy, etc., etc. Any questions about today?
In the blue section, it says whatever you like, but recommend the careers section. Very more way just looking up what the companies that are going to be here, that sort of thing.
Some of this I will cover in the session on how to write the best application, but basically do as much research as you can. Yeah, any other questions about today? Cool. I'm going to whiz straight on then, because it reminds me I need to actually prepare the presentation. Who is having a really, really tough time with the TIL tech test? Oh, sorry, that reminds me, by the way. A couple of people asked me yesterday, should I get on with the Deloitte tech test or should I do my CV and GitHub first? Please do not do anything like getting a job until you feel happy with your CV and your GitHub, because then you'll just never, ever, ever do it. And then I'll just pester you forever and ever, say, please do it, please do it, please do it. So please get your CV and your GitHub into a reasonable state before you even think about starting on any kind of tech test that's going to get you a job. The Till tech test, on the other hand, is nice practice and is something to be getting on with in the background. But really, that CV and making sure that you're proud of your GitHub, those are the two top priority things at the moment before you get on with other stuff. Did you come to both sessions of the how to find a job and opportunities? Did you come to the second one that I did in a Wednesday workshop?
I'm not sure I did.
Okay.
Are workshops every Wednesday moving forward? You keep sort of mentioning Wednesday.
Yep. Yeah. Weekly Wednesday workshops, which might actually end up being weekly Wednesdays. Like the whole of Wednesday will be a hiring week equivalent, with CV reviews and mock interviews and sessions and so on. Just basically because I've been aware that recently, being only one person, I don't feel like I'm dedicating enough time to you guys as I should be. So. This one. Okay, I'll do the advanced one because you guys are clearly advanced. Yeah, so looking for jobs. It's got to 3 questions for you. There you go. That's the starting point. You'll notice I use the word achieve a lot when talking about jobs, and I'll repeat the stuff that I've said before, which is that it's the results that you deliver that are really the really interesting bit, and that's not just for employers, that's for you too. So when it comes to what kind of a job do I want, or what is it that I want to achieve, both for myself but also for the company, and if you can really have a good idea of that, it really helps in terms of guiding. And all of this whole session and the various kind of relating sessions come back to this attitude that I have, and I push very strongly on you guys. It's that the wider you throw your net, the less likely you are to get anything you want. Laser focus is what is going to get you over the line into your first job as a junior developer. Pick something, even if it's wrong. It doesn't matter if it's wrong. It is better to be doing something wrong than not doing anything at all. That is not a general statement that I should be quoted on about everything in the world. It applies very specifically to this context. Don't sit at home, sit here on the internet looking at job descriptions and job adverts going, oh, maybe. No. Just do it. Get that first job, and then you can start thinking about what's the next step. Did I get it right, etc., etc. And I'm recommending that the way that you can ensure that that first step that you take is as close to the best step you could have taken as possible is to focus on these 3 questions. So the first one, what do you want to achieve? That's a relatively straightforward one, but I like to phrase it in terms of the word achieve, because then it's about results rather than, for example, what do you want to do? Oh, I want to work in a great team. Yeah, everyone wants to work in a great team. But what do you want to achieve with that great team? What do you want to contribute to? The second one, what excites you? It was really great, the few people that I interviewed when on whenever it was, Tuesday, that people they'd be answering a question and they'd be aware of the fact that they were answering a question, and then they'd hit something that excites them and they'd stop being self-conscious and they'd stop being aware and they would smile. Talk about things that make you smile and do things that make you smile. Bless you. and everyone will think that you're better than you actually are. That's called the halo effect, and I recommend you look it up. But seriously, do stuff that excites you, because then you'll do it better. You know, this is all fairly obvious stuff, but I recommend you concentrate on these three things. The third one is, who do you know? Because it will help. Regardless of how much I massively disagree with the fact that really most jobs are filled by through someone's network, that is still the case. And if you really want to get a leg up, start tapping your network, particularly considering that most of you will already have a professional network. But also bearing in mind that I imagine that most of you have friends. Okay. This is the addition. The previous time I did this, I just said that. I'm now going to tell you how I did that. So this is how I answered those questions. I want to solve the digital skills problem. It's quite a broad thing, really, but it gives me a nice, somewhat measurable thing to say. Yeah.
I don't understand what we can do as junior developers. I don't understand what we want to achieve, really. I think
if you don't know what you want, you don't know what you want to achieve as a person.
I want to achieve getting a job, and I want to achieve it. No, genuinely, I want a job, and I want to be a good developer.
You want to be a good developer. There you go. That's what you want to achieve.
Okay.
So don't go and work for a company where there's going to be no training. Don't go and work for a company where, you know, that's absolutely fine, as long as it's something that you actually want, right? My goal was something quite grand, right? But that's because I've asked myself this question 1,000 times a year, and my answer to the question slowly evolves and develops. When I first started out, my answer to this question was, I want to find out what I want to achieve. That was my first answer to this question, was I genuinely didn't know. And that may well be your answer question. Like, I don't know what I want to achieve. I recommend that you actually push a little bit further and you do think about it, because I'd be really surprised if you didn't. You know, the steps that you've taken to get to this point means you have a really good idea somewhere in your mind of what it is that you want to achieve. Even if, Gabe, absolutely fine, that what you want to achieve is being good at this new thing that you do. And then the next step is, oh, now I want to solve world hunger, or, you know, write the next best computer virus, or whatever it is, right? These are the things that excite me, because I'm really dull. Education reform and disrupting entry-level recruitment. Yes, that's it. That's what gets me going, is changing the way we teach people and changing the way we hire people. And because I'm a LinkedIn whore, I had lots of LinkedIn connections, so I thought that's probably a good place to start. Let's see if this link works. It does. Awesome. So I went through my 1,800 LinkedIn connections and discovered that only 50 of them were even vaguely relevant. By vaguely relevant, what I meant was they work in or have some connection with the sorts of things that I want to do, and I feel like they might do me a favor. 50 people I found, and before I'd even got as far as 18, I'd got a job at Makers Academy. I am not in any way saying that I was clever or brilliant to do this. This is just how I approached the model that I showed you on the previous slide. And it may well be that the next time I use this model, should I ever be going for another job, it won't work. This is no way foolproof at all. I just think it's a nice way of approaching the problem. So what do you want to achieve? Gives you nice measurable goals. What excites you means that something that might happen is you do the first one, then you do the second one, you realize they disagree with each other. And now that's given you a nice little learning cycle to move forward. Because obviously you want those to be relatively consistent. Here are places where you can find people who might help you. Please raise your hand if this doesn't strike you as extremely obvious. Because it is. Job seeking, job hunting, I mean, anyway. I find job seeking is like, feels like you're signing on and claiming work benefits and stuff. So we call it job hunting. Structurally, it's not actually very difficult. Emotionally, is really tough. So I like to recommend that you focus on the structure, which is the easy bit, because it will somewhat bore you up. Events. How many free events could you go to this week? In and around here, Tech London, you know, all that sort of techie place where people are looking to hire techie people. I reckon, and I'd like to prove this, I reckon that you could go to a free event with free food and free liquid, depending on the time of day, from 7:30 in the morning until midnight every day of the week. There's lots of events. And if I am ever hard up, I will live at free events with free food and occasionally free booze. That's how I'm going to feed and water myself, because I'm so confident in the fact that I could actually do that. Events are, particularly for you guys, a great place to start. Having not necessarily you're going to have a great professional network in the right arena. I'm sure some of you have already started going to events. I recommend that however many events you're going to at the moment, go to 3 times as many. And by the way, attending an event does not mean attending the event from the beginning to the end. Attending an event is going there, quickly evaluating whether you think that event is going to be useful for you, and then leaving or staying. The point is turning up. And I'm sure some of you have heard that 90% of luck is turning up. I could bore you to the ends of the earth with stories of me saying, oh, I don't want to go to that event. I can't be bothered. Okay, I've had a long day and I don't want to go to that event. Okay, I will. I'll just go and I'll just go and I'll go for 5 minutes and I, bang. And that's where I meet a client. That's where I meet the next person who hires me. That's where I meet other people on the theme of the dating analogies previously. Your network. Also a good place to start, because you already know people. Here's a thing to try. How many of you use Facebook? Well, I sort of do. How many of you have more than 100 friends on Facebook? You can do that with your eyes closed if you want. Okay, that's an exceptional network you've got there. People who you can send a short message to on Facebook, because no one uses Facebook Messenger anymore, so it will really stand out. You send a Facebook message saying, this is what I'm good at, this is what I'm looking for, can you help me, or can you introduce me to someone? And you send that to 100 people. And if one of them replies, that was a essentially free introduction that you just got there.
No. It comes at a cost of annoying the hell out of all the people that don't have anything to offer you.
So you're annoying the hell out of people who aren't useful to you?
Well, you're on Facebook. You've got, for example, myself, I've got 100 friends that work in the ambulance service. Mm-hmm. They're not going to be able to get me anything.
Yeah, you don't know that. You don't know that. You can, if you send every single one of those people one message that says, this is who I am, this is what I'm looking for, can you help? Right? And you never send them any message about that ever again. That's not annoying. That's one person getting one message from one person. And look, seriously try it. I have told this to rooms full of hundreds of people and said, try it. And if you try it, tell me how it goes. No one has ever done it. Good. Thank you, Gabe. And please also don't just let Gabe take all the responsibility here. Do actually do it. And please tell me how it works. Because it was literally just an idea that I had and I didn't have the opportunity to do it. Try it. Try as Will's crazy squeak. Excellent.
That's all my list to do.
Other networky things. I mean, I'd be happy at some point to do a session on networking and that horrible word that is networking, which I consider good networking is seeking people out, being interested in them and trying to help them. That's good networking and effective networking. But generally, using your network is something that most of us are pretty rubbish at doing, especially in Britain, because we feel like we're imposing or we're being annoying and so on. Most people will forget very quickly if they weren't able to help you because they don't want to remember the fact that they couldn't help you. But anyway, I will maybe later on in one of the Wednesday sessions and stuff, we'll actually do a thing about networking at events and all that sort of stuff. But suffice it to say, events and network, there is one session that you didn't get this week that they did 6 weeks ago was Leo talking about the state of the tech jobs market. The summary of his talk is there are so many jobs, like so many jobs, like tens of thousands of companies just in East London who are constantly growing. That's where all the new jobs are happening. They're all technical jobs, or software. So many companies, so many jobs. And just to give you an example of who you're up against, in 2013, in East London, where we have the highest density of tech jobs, 345 people did computer science A-level. And just 2,500 people did a specifically technically related further education qualification. Across the country, there are fewer than 50,000 people graduating from a computer science degree every year. And we have thousands and thousands, if not tens of thousands of new jobs every year. There are lots of jobs for you, don't worry. It's just a case of finding them. And it's just a case mainly because the companies don't have enough money, resource, or time to make sure that they're pushing their jobs on you. So you have to go out and get them. I've heard that the internet can be quite useful for finding things. I recommend it. Particularly, another trick you might try. I found this one very useful. I have yet to hear anybody come back and tell me that they've ever done it. So please do tell me if you do it, which is go through loads and loads and loads of job descriptions on the, all the various job boards that there are. Don't worry about experience, don't worry about level, don't worry about anything. Just worry about the way that they describe the job and the way that they describe the company. And if you like them, keep them, bookmark them somewhere. And after you've got about 50 of these things, go through them and look for the similarities. And that's a really, really, really straightforward way of finding out what kind of job you want. Because then you say, right, I've created this hybrid job out of all of these other jobs, which is, is that actually a thing? Can I go and find this as a thing? Right, I want the junior version of that. Come to me and say, hey, Will, I've discovered from doing that really weird thing you suggested that these are the things that I want from a job and these are the things that I want from a company. Can you help? And I'll go, I know just the company. Or I'll go, you're mad. That's never going to happen, but I'll try. There are so many other things about the internet that you can use to help you get jobs, particularly going and looking at websites that tell you how to get jobs, and you will find how brilliantly inconsistent the advice is and how much of it will disagree with stuff that I say and how much of it will agree with stuff that I say, and you can make your own mind up. Use the stuff that works for you. Yeah.
I might answer my own question here, but with this kind of field especially, when people are like, oh, we want 3 years experience and a BA, like how much of that is just like deterring people who might just chance it? Like how realistic?
Oh, no, it's usually unintentional. Usually people who are writing job descriptions are copying, pasting job descriptions that other people have written. No one knows how to write a job description. Everyone copies other people who don't know how to write job descriptions. So what you get is people who write down, a relevant bachelor's degree and 3 years experience because they think that means something.
Yeah.
So it's on your shoulders to prove to them that you can do their job, even though you don't have those things, which is quite difficult, particularly if they have, a filter that just says no, and so that's why I recommend the more kind of human side of getting a job, because you have an opportunity to persuade above and beyond any of the checklists that they have. It's something that I've actually faced here as well. Is being put on a preferred suppliers list for recruitment with an organization that is the preferred suppliers list for a whole load of other companies, and they're saying in the contract that they must meet the minimum requirements. And I'm going, but I don't know what the minimum requirements are, because if they include experience or relevant qualifications, my candidates will just instantly be rejected. And they've come back saying, no, don't worry. But it is a conversation that has to happen.
Yeah.
And that goes with all of you, is that I want to do my best for you in terms of you getting a job. And there is upcoming, I think, probably a session around where I show you how I sell you to companies so that you can go and use those techniques to sell yourselves to companies. In the meantime, it will be, in the main, more difficult for you to get a job by yourself because of unless they've already hired makers grads, or they have an idea of what it is that you can do, or they've hired from another boot camp or anything like that, or they're just open-minded. You're always going to have that hurdle of overcoming that hurdle of persuasion. Excuse me.
Why can't you just sketch out what it is?
Because I haven't really finalized it in my head yet. I'm still experimenting. Generally, the best thing I found that it works is things like compare the market, and Deloitte Digital say, send me your best every 6 weeks. Every time you graduate a new bunch of people, we want to hire the best. Every 6 weeks, they say that. That is a big deal. Like, that is brand central. You guys are valuable, and Compare the Market and Deloitte Digital are clever enough to have discovered how valuable you are. That's the general gist. And then all the variations on that, like comparing you to computer science graduates, how you're clearly smarter than them because it's only taking you 3 months rather than 3 years. Which is the point, you are not even that, but you actually, when a company genuinely understands what a Makers Academy graduate can do, you almost inevitably go in above computer science graduates. Pay scale, everything. Not very far above computer science graduates, but above, because you're the kind of people who can actually deliver software, whereas they're the kind of people who can theorize about the efficiency of an algorithm. Both of those skills are useful in a software environment, but you guys are more practically useful when it comes to being a junior. But yeah, I'm getting the general consensus that would be a useful session. Yeah, okay. Me, get jobs through me, find jobs. This is a talk about finding jobs and getting jobs and all that sort of stuff. So this bit is to implore all of you if you're going to apply for a job, just double check with me first. And I don't mean double check as in I'm going to turn around and say, oh no, you don't want to apply for that job. I might do, because you might be picking it, but that's very unlikely. What I mean is, if you say to me, hey, Will, I'm really thinking of applying for a junior developer job at internships, right? And there's this guy, Rajiv Dey, is like this award-winning entrepreneur. I want to go and work for him. And I'll go, huh, yeah, I worked for him for 2 years. I helped him build his business. That might happen. Or, you remember the 1800 LinkedIn connections? That was a while ago. I might well know the people who run the company. I might well know somebody who works in the team. But also, the more you tell me which companies you want, the better I can help you in getting the job that you want. And ultimately, along the line, then the more companies you tell me about, the more companies I help you get jobs with, potentially the more clients we can bring in who will then hire more makers, which means that you won't be the only maker in the building, and you'll be able to mentor upcoming makers. And we further the wonderful mentorship tube that happens through Makers Academy. And we can actually push that out into the world of jobs. Reminder, by the way, that 5 of the 8 companies who are coming tomorrow morning have already hired Makers Academy graduates. They already have Makers Academy graduates working there. which is obviously the best place in the world for you guys to go. Here are some examples of places you can find events. I will share this, and obviously it's on the video and everything. Eventbrite and Meetup, I'm sure you've heard of. Tech City News is slowly growing. It's sort of the media company for Tech City. You will have seen their magazines lying around and stuff. London Technology Week is coming up soon. There's also Digital Shoreditch, which is the second week of May. I will be giving a talk on a Thursday. It is, however, £99 for a day ticket. Really recommend it in terms of content. Maybe good in terms of jobs. Don't know. Pick the right day of the week. And then Three Beards. Those are the most renowned startup events, particularly Silicon Roundabout. No, that's not right. Silicon Drinkabout, thank you, which is every Friday. Did you have a question?
Oh, no, I was going to say there's one at 6 o'clock just up the road on Friday, which looks pretty good.
Where is it?
Let me get the location for you.
Yeah, so Drinkabout every Friday evening. It changes venue. If it's ever at Wyra, go to that one, because then the beer's free. But yeah, so Drinkabout is it's loud, it's drinking, like it's not quite as networky talking as other events are, because it's supposed to be the end of the week, Friday night, let's all kind of go crazy. But in terms of the people who turn up, like you could genuinely be, you know, having a couple of beers with the CEO of Twilio and not notice until later on. You go, oh, so what is it you actually do? He's like, oh, I run this company, blah, blah, it's Twilio. Oh, wow, okay, yeah. And that can happen all the time at Drinkabout. So it's a lovely place. And the Three Beards are awesome.
Don't ask who he is or instruction.
Yeah.
And then you can send an application.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me, general piece of advice, don't ever ask about jobs. Don't ever ask for jobs, because people just shut down. They go, oh, no, we don't have any jobs. You sell, sales, pushy. Ask for advice, ask for information. Can I take you for a coffee? And, you know, when we're a bit more sober, can we have a chat about this? I'm really finding this interesting. I'd really like to get your knowledge about this, blah, blah, blah. And then during that coffee, you then raise the way that you feel about it and the way that you approach the problem, and then try and bring about in them the idea that maybe they might want to hire you. But if it's getting to the point where you don't feel that, then ask them for a commitment. So you say, you know, it's been really, I actually really like to come and work for you if that's possible. And then they either say yes or no, because don't drag it out. That's a very, very, very short introduction to soft selling yourself. Parties and barbecues. We'll come a little bit to, I think, have I got it here? Yeah, so this is from the other, oh, no. This is from the other one, because I can't just say it out loud. Have 3 questions. Always have 3 questions that you are in the process of answering. So you're at a party and you meet somebody and they say, oh yeah, you know, I'm CTO of this, you know, small software agency. What 3 questions are you going to ask that person? And none of them are allowed to be, please, can I have a job? Because you're finding out information. Is it information about the tech that they use? You know, you might well go around just asking anyone who works even vaguely in software, do you TDD? Why do you TDD? That might be a sort of thing that you wanted to know. My point being is that you should be able to take advantage of accidental situations and not make them look like an interview. If any of you have any time to read anything, I recommend reading a book called The Mom Test, which is about customer development, and it's about how do you get genuine information from people without them feeling like they're being interviewed, and so therefore making it much less likely that they will accidentally lie to you.
Sorry, the what test?
MOM test.
M-A-M-O-M.
MOM. Yes.
Okay.
The point being is that if you're building a recipe app and you ask your mum, hey, I'm building this recipe app for the iPad, would you use it? She'll say yes. But if you say, hey, mum, when was the last time you downloaded an app for your iPad? Then she'll give you a truthful answer because she doesn't know that she needs to protect your feelings. So the idea is that you ask questions that your mum would not lie to you about because she doesn't know that she needs to protect your feelings or anything like that. And that's natural when we'd say, you know, oh, I'm building this sort of a thing, would you use this? And most people will say yes because they want to help and they want to please you. But actually what you want is genuine information. So those 3 questions should satisfy the MOM test. Yeah.
How would you exchange information when you meet someone? Would you keep a card or would you just ask them for their...
There's lots and lots of stuff, rhetoric around this, which is all massively disagreeing. My personal attitude is, unless they ask you for your contact details, don't give them. And if you want to follow up with them, then ask them for their contact details and follow up with them. If you don't feel like the next day or even that evening, you're going to be rushing to find a computer to send them an email, then question why you're asking for their details. But don't ever give unless you're asked. That's my rule of thumb, really. I did an experiment on that, by the way. So,
can you just clarify these questions? It seems kind of vague to me. You have 3 questions. What you're out at an event, you meet, you said the CTO of a small software company. Why do I want to know anything about them? Is it a particular thing that I'm interested in their company? Like, I don't really understand. Like, just 3 questions. Why?
Number 1 reason, because you can compare the answers that you get from various different people.
Okay.
Number 2 reason means you don't flounder in that conversation by not feeling prepared, which then means that you don't get to take advantage of the fact that you've just met a CTO of a small software company, which is really, really, really useful for you, especially considering, you know, the idea that you don't necessarily have a strong network in this arena. You want to make sure that that interaction, you might not ever meet that person again. So you want to, A, make sure that you make the most of that interaction, and B, make sure that you could potentially meet that person again in order to then further make the most of that person. Because either they could be useful to you or they might know someone who could be useful to you.
So these are networking hook questions, like these are questions to get you to stay in the loop, or are they questions like, oh, look at my GitHub, did I do this right?
Maybe, yeah. You might say, I approach this problem in this way. Is this, you know, how would you approach this problem, or something like that? But bear in mind, you know, if you're at a party, probably that's, you know, that might be a little inappropriate, but more, you know, okay, I mean, I can run through some examples, but really it should be coming from you. What do you want to know? If you don't want to know anything from that person, don't ask them any questions. But have a think about it over, you know, today and tomorrow and so on, particularly considering that you're going to be meeting precisely these sorts of people tomorrow morning. What do you want to know? And if all it is you want to know about their company, then that's fine. I'll have 3 questions about their company. You know, I'm starting out as a junior software developer and I don't know what that's like. Please answer, you know, tell me about this thing about your company. Tell me about your software development life cycle, whatever it is that you actually want to know, but just make sure that you're prepared to take advantage of serendipitous situations. You might be in the queue for buying a burrito and you accidentally get talking to someone. That's an advantage that you can take. That's a situation you can take advantage of.
These are 3 just generic questions for whoever you happen to meet with.
They don't need to be generic. They can be extremely specific. You pick the questions that you want to know the answers to.
No, but I'm thinking about this now. I don't know who I'm going to meet, so they have to be quite wide open. They can't be specific because otherwise I'm going to have to prepare 150 questions.
Or you have 3 questions about things that you want to know, and then you use those questions when you come across somebody who you think might know the answer.
Can you give me examples of what people in our situation would want to know? Because your networking situation is a bit different to ours.
Yeah.
In that you're almost a professional networker, or it's a bigger part of your job. Our job is to get a job and then do the job. So,
what information would be useful to you to help you get a job as a junior software developer?
Who's hiring?
Yeah.
What do they want? What can I be doing in the meantime?
Perfect. 3 questions. Excellent. Ask everybody those 3 questions. This is not difficult. I know, you know, it sounds all grandiose and emotional and introspective and everything, but it's really straightforward. And if you ask those 3 questions to 5 people and you're not satisfied with the answers, change the questions. The point is, don't enter a situation where you're suddenly talking to Bill Gates and you can't take advantage of that situation. It's just a little bit of preparation goes so far. And back to the thing. So a bit more detail on network. Family, that's good. Because your family probably, you imagine, don't know anyone who works in tech. But they might. And when I say family, I mean, you know, your cousins and your second cousins and all of those people who feel like they owe you something, even though they probably don't, because they share, you know, a 16th of your DNA or something. One thing I would warn off there, however, is be aware of careers advice that comes from somebody, particularly in this industry, more than 5 years older than you. Because it's probably 5 years out of date. In fact, especially considering that you're now entry level, unless you're talking to somebody who is an expert in entry level or has just got a job as an entry level junior developer, it's quite likely that their careers advice is out of date. We tend to, particularly as we're leaving university, we go, oh, I'll ask careers advice from the people that I trust, my parents. You go, that's automatically 30 years out of date. So don't just be wary of advice that is coming from people who think that they are talking in the immediate moment, but actually out of date. Friends, yeah, kind of, well, it's covered most of this already. Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and GitHub. LinkedIn, I have promised to other people that I would do a session on how to get a job from Twitter. Subsequently, I have realized there is so much information about how to do that on the internet. Have a look, but essentially it's the same as doing it in a room. People often ask me, what's Twitter for? It's a room full of people. What would you use a room full of people for? That's it. That's all it is. Have nice conversations with people. It's just that you can have the conversations with the CTO of the blah de blah much easier on Twitter, because you just find them and then you send them a message, and you know, maybe they'll respond, maybe they won't. GitHub, contributing to open source projects, etc. You develop friendships, network, etc. Same with Stack Overflow. You know, questions back and forth. These are quite soft, time consuming and so on, but you are automatically putting yourself in a network that's content relevant. Here are some job boards. If you don't know about Stack Overflow careers, you do now. Do it, just do it. Angel.co, Angel List. They have a really nice jobs engine where it's a bit kind of like Tinder. And Unicorn Hunt is the new Three Beards job board. There's also the post-course, ignore this link because I'm in the process of redesigning the post-course repo. But basically, the keeping it fun, if you can find it, the keeping it fun file is has got lots of additional places that you can go and find information which might lead to you finding jobs. General approach to finding jobs is kind of, I think, particularly with a junior position, find a company that you want to work for rather than find a job that you want to apply for. Just generally, even if they don't have any jobs, you've now got a data point for a company that you want to work for, which means you get more and more information about other companies that you might want to work for. You are very welcome, all of you. Oh, sorry, yeah.
We see
job offer, do you have to get stressed to get the application out by 2 days later? Or is it usually 2 weeks we have to get everything prepared and better wait 2 more days to get some project done?
Okay, you will constantly battle with whether to do something well or fast, and the balance between those two. I can give advice in specific in specific cases. I can give you advice based on how I think, but that's just one person's opinion. Ask other people. But in terms of actual like jobs and so on, the general rule of thumb is that if a company is looking for a junior developer, that's essentially an open position, because they're always looking for junior developers because it's so difficult to find good junior developers. However, some will have time periods that they will advertise. Jobs through us, I will be clear about deadlines and so on. Okay. You are all, please, very welcome to look through the people that I know on LinkedIn and say, please, can you introduce me to so-and-so? Please, can you get me a job at so-and-so? I don't use that network near as much as I should, so please use it for me. That's the end. Wait, is that the end? I can't see what any of these say. Oh yeah, that's a nice one. Give. Don't try and take. Give your opinions, your advice, give help. You know, oh, I'm trying to achieve X. Oh, how can I help with that? Oh, maybe I'll introduce you to so-and-so. Maybe I know this person, or maybe I can do this thing for you. As long as you're not really properly giving your time away for free, because then you're really undervaluing the thing that you've just paid a lot of money for. You know, oh yeah, I'll work over the weekend to do a little thing for you, or here's my recommendation. There's a guy in the States. It's a massively extravagant story, but I think it's really lovely. He left university and he went around. Every time he interacted with a product or service, he sent them ideas about how they could improve that product or service. And within 3 months, he had a very, very highly paid job as head of strategy for a growing startup, because he sent them an idea for how they could change their business model, and they just went, "That's absolutely brilliant." They brought the guy in, and obviously they've considered that he could do the job as well. He wasn't just firing off advice, being rubbish. But that's a very extreme example of what I'm talking about. Is give, because it just very slightly tips things in your favor in terms of people giving stuff back to you, and usually doesn't cost you much in terms of time or effort or anything like that. This is my, sorry, Gabriel. This is how I feel deep inside in my gut, where there's all the acid and the bile. It's a generalization, because technically I'm a recruiter. But what I mean is recruitment agencies, and I mentioned this earlier in the week, recruitment agencies who don't do their job properly, which is almost all of them, I consider to be people who trade in the commodity of human beings, which is not a good thing. One of the things I say to employers is that Makers Academy, unlike a recruitment agency, is not a room full of salespeople selling human beings. We are a building full of technologists and educators trying to create the next generation of junior software developers. We have a different kind of approach to getting you a job. So that extreme attitude put out there, that's a caution to working with recruiters. I would really like to hear somebody come back to me and say that they had a good experience, where they got a job that they liked, that they were suitable for, on a good salary, and it was an easy process, that they didn't feel commoditized or insulted or misunderstood. So if you do have one of those experiences, please come back and tell me, because I've never heard anybody say anything other than, I hate recruiters, I wish they'd leave me alone. What are we on? 20, 40. I've gone way over, haven't I? Yeah. So you were supposed to be doing this last 20 minutes, and this was the bit you were supposed to be doing. I've just thrown a ton of information at you. Please come back and ask me about any of it as it trickles through your mind. Go out, talk to people, see how that works, come back, say, hey, Will, I had this experience where I did this. This whole talk is really literally just my idea of a way of doing it. This is in no way prescriptive. This is in no way anything other than a recommendation of here's a way to do it. I could talk to the ends of the earth about why I think it's a good way of doing it. This is not something that I have stuck together in half a second. This is something that I've been working on over the last 3 or 4 years. Please tell me your experiences about it. And in the meantime, do have a think about what it is you want to achieve, which might be as straightforward as successfully moving from an industry that I hated to an industry that I like. That might be, I mean, it's not a very good one in terms of finding the right job for you, but at least it's something to strive for. Or it could be, you know, I want to change the face of software development so that everybody understands the relevance of Disney-driven development, which, by the way, is a thing. Did anyone look it up? Oh. It's not doing it. That's amazing. Linda Secondton, that's her name. You could go to a meetup last year. Safety, courtesy, show, and efficiency. I think that's the general gist of it.
You get sacked if you don't start.
Yes. I love coding. Excellent idea. What excites you? Disney-driven development, obviously. Yeah, again, focus on what makes you smile. Like, what's the stuff? What's the thing? The couple of things that over the last few months you've gone, I really like that. And if you don't know, sit down with somebody to ask you questions about this sort of stuff, and just make sure that they tell you every time that you smile or every time that you stop, every time that you kind of get into a bit of a flow. And then whatever it was that you were talking about at that point, that's a good place to start for the stuff that excites you. And who do you know, as I've mentioned, is something that will be really, 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 really useful for you. And it's horrible, horrible, horrible thinking about doing it. And it feels awkward and naff and rubbish, but it will be absolutely to your benefit, or at least it has a high potential to be. Any questions?
How picky should we be?
Sort of depends on how much money you have. Like, how long can you go before you need a job? Because I would recommend that, okay, in my experience, people who have got to the point where they need a job almost inevitably get a job that they don't like. So go for a job earlier that you feel good about rather than amazing, in order to counteract the risk of going later and then getting a rubbish job because you have to get a job. Overall, I would say, however, you don't have enough information to be picky at the moment. You don't know what any of these jobs are like. So go for one that you don't hate. But, you know, then there's the other thing of, naturally, all of you will consider all of you will want to move faster than I will want you to move, because I see the long timescales and I see the fact that the company takes 2 weeks to even look at your application. And you're spending 2 weeks going, I wonder if I'm going to get that job. I wonder if I'm going to get that job. Da, 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 da. But I have to sit there and wait. Da, da, da. So I'm naturally going to expect you or require of you or want you or advise you to wait longer than you will feel comfortable to do so. Yeah.
How do you feel, and what's your experience about people in makers leaving and doing internships?
There are a few. Steve, who was here yesterday, he went and did the Hackstars, so internship at Techstars. That's pretty good. Generally, I mean, this is based on spending 2 years working for a company that did internships in startups. What's an internship? Because there's no official definition and everyone understands it to be a different thing. So if you mean unpaid work, don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't do any unpaid work ever. Don't do any unpaid work. You have probably one of the most valuable skill sets at all. Don't do any unpaid work. If you mean like a kind of a training thing or a...
So you said, this is a definition for everyone, it's quite subjective, but what I mean is, yeah, basically it's a place where they will train you more or develop you more free-ish. You won't have to pay them, they won't have to pay you. Kind of deal.
If you're working for free, then you're massively undervaluing yourself. If, however, you're working at minimum wage for 3 months in an environment that has really well-constructed learning and development milestones, that's useful. But make sure that if you're going to an internship, that they're not calling it an internship so that they either don't have to pay you or can pay you very little, just simply because they've called it an internship. And if you're doing it for the learning opportunity, make sure that before you ever even consider interview or during interview or something, you make sure that they give you like a written plan of how you're going to learn, because they can promise you so much, and they just won't do it.
Otherwise, it's going to be a big bag, and you might just go.
Yeah. Also, by the way, particularly companies that have not got a lot of experience of hiring people, they think that it's okay to not pay you. It is illegal. As in, it's genuinely, fully, completely illegal. There are very, very, very special circumstances where it's not, but none of those circumstances will apply to you. And they pay you the minimum wage is the minimum they have to pay you, which, look it up on the internet, but it's about £7 an hour. Okay, let's take a break there. Should we say 25 past?